Not everyone is going to be happy when your life starts improving. And most people don't realize that until they begin to feel a shift they can't fully explain. At first, it's subtle. Nothing dramatic happens. There's no argument, no confrontation, no clear reason to feel different. But something changes. The energy feels slightly colder. The reactions feel shorter. The conversations don't flow the way they used to. And because there's no obvious event, you start questioning yourself. Maybe you're overthinking. Maybe you're imagining things. Maybe nothing has actually changed. But deep down, you feel it. And that feeling usually appears right when your life starts moving forward. When you improve, grow, or gain confidence, the dynamic around you naturally shifts. Not because you did something wrong, but because growth changes perception. Some people feel inspired by your progress. Others feel uncomfortable. And discomfort doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks like distance. It can show up in small ways. They respond slower. They engage less. They don't ask follow-up questions about your success. They move on quickly when you share good news. It's subtle, but noticeable. And what makes it harder is that these are often people you trusted. Friends, close connections, sometimes even family. That's what makes it confusing. Because you expect support from the people closest to you. But growth can unintentionally create comparison. And comparison triggers insecurity. When someone compares their life to yours and feels behind, it can create an internal reaction. Not necessarily hatred, not necessarily cruelty, but discomfort. And uncomfortable feelings often get expressed indirectly, through withdrawal, through reduced enthusiasm, through quiet competition, through minimizing your achievements. Sometimes they say things that sound supportive on the surface, but carry a different tone underneath. Advice that feels limiting, warnings that feel discouraging, comments that introduce doubt. Real support feels steady. It feels encouraging. It feels grounded, but insecurity can feel protective. And when someone feels protective of their own position, your progress can unintentionally feel like a threat, even if you never intended it that way. That's why relationships sometimes shift when one person grows. The structure changes. The balance changes. And not everyone adapts at the same pace. You might also notice something else. When you're struggling, they seem more present. When things aren't going well, the connection feels easier. The conversations flow more naturally during difficult times. But when you start doing better, something feels different. That pattern can be difficult to accept, because it suggests that the connection may have been partially balanced around shared struggle. And when that struggle disappears, the dynamic changes. That doesn't automatically mean the relationship is fake, but it may mean it was built around a different version of you. And here's where maturity becomes important. Instead of reacting emotionally, you observe. You look for patterns, not isolated moments. One comment doesn't define someone, but repeated behavior does. When you begin to notice consistent changes, you don't confront immediately. You don't accuse. You don't assume. You simply adjust. You become more selective about what you share. You protect your plans until they're established. You stop seeking validation from people who don't celebrate your growth. And you continue moving forward calmly. Because growth doesn't require permission. It requires consistency. Not everyone will grow with you. Some relationships will naturally evolve. Some will fade. Some will remain steady. And that's part of life. It doesn't make you better than anyone. And it doesn't make them bad people. Sometimes people are simply at different stages of their own development. But what matters most is how you respond. You don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You don't hide your progress to protect fragile dynamics. You don't ignore your intuition just to avoid discomfort. Instead, you stay aware. You stay grounded. And you keep improving quietly. Because the right connections won't feel threatened by your growth. They'll feel secure. Real relationships don't compete with your success. They expand with it. They don't become smaller when you become stronger. They remain stable. And if someone can only connect with you when you're struggling, that tells you something important about the foundation of that relationship. It doesn't mean you need to cut everyone off. It means you need boundaries. Boundaries protect growth. Boundaries protect peace. Boundaries protect identity. And when you start setting them, you may notice another shift. Some people respect it, others resist it. Resistance can show up as guilt tripping, or subtle criticism, or emotional withdrawal. But remember, protecting yourself is not selfish. It's responsible. Because if you continue shrinking to maintain comfort, you eventually lose alignment with who you're becoming. And that creates internal frustration. You feel stuck. You feel unseen. You feel misunderstood. Not because you changed in a negative way, but because you refused to evolve fully. Growth will always reveal alignment. It will show you who celebrates you. And it will quietly show you who was comfortable with a smaller version of you. That realization can hurt. But it's also freeing, because once you see it clearly, you stop taking it personally. You understand that insecurity in others isn't always about you. It's about their internal comparison. And comparison is something everyone experiences at some level. The difference is how people handle it. Some people use it as motivation. Others let it turn into resentment. And when resentment goes unaddressed, it changes behavior. That's why awareness is powerful. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to observe patterns and move with intention. Now pause for a moment and think about your own life. Have you ever noticed someone change after you started improving? Did their tone shift? Did their enthusiasm decrease? Did their availability change? And how did you respond? Did you ignore it to keep peace? Did you confront it directly? Or did you slowly distance yourself? There's no right or wrong answer. But there is growth in reflection, because understanding jealousy and betrayal isn't about becoming suspicious of everyone. It's about learning emotional intelligence. It's about recognizing dynamics early. It's about building relationships where growth is safe. And most importantly, it's about staying true to your evolution without apology. You are allowed to improve. You are allowed to succeed. You are allowed to outgrow environments, and you are allowed to do it without shrinking yourself. So, take this as a reminder. Growth will change your life, and sometimes it will change your relationships. But the right ones will adapt. The wrong ones will reveal themselves. And either way, you move forward stronger, not bitter, not defensive, just wiser. If this resonated with you, share your experience in the comments. Not to expose anyone, but to reflect. Because many people go through this quietly, and sometimes realizing you're not alone is the first step toward emotional clarity.